Hi, this is Thomas Posen with MTL Electronic Music, and today we have Jars in the studio. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Appreciate it. So let's get into this interview. This is going to be great. We're going to listen to 2 new tracks. One of them is unreleased.
Yeah.
So that's going to be great. So how did you get into producing, DJing, and you're starting to do a little bit of live, I think.
Getting there. Exactly, yeah. So it all started, I think, back in 2013 when I was at Polytechnique. I was studying at university, and a friend of mine just used to DJ in our house parties. He used to do a lot of EDM stuff, and it really intrigued me a lot. And back then I started DJing with him, and I bought a very small mixer from Pharmaprix.
Oh,
Which is really fun. Yeah, I got it for like $60 or something, and it was a small Hercules mixer, I think.
Yeah.
And on virtual DJ software, I just started DJing like EDM.
Mhm.
And back then, I really fell in love with some EDM producers that I really don't like their music anymore, which is funny to say. Like, I used to love Blaster Jacks,
Blaster Jacks.
but I can't even listen to one of their tracks anymore. It just gives me a headache, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I started. And then like at school, we had like this committee of DJs or producers, people interested in music, which is Polyrad,
Yeah.
was like the Polytechnique radio, I guess. And there I started DJing with them, and I became like the DJ of the pub of Poly,
Mhm.
which is like a Friday club that we used to have. I used to DJ a lot of like EDM-ish commercial electronic music, I would say, like remixes of pop songs or famous songs.
Mhm.
And I really, really fell in love with DJing there. And that's when I started getting more and more into DJing, obviously. And in the scene, I feel like it's a natural progression. In Montreal, you start getting more and more interested in electronic music, not EDM, more like progressive house and melodic house and techno. And this was probably via Picnic Electronique had a big impact. I mean, you can't live in Montreal and not go to Picnic Electronique.
Yeah.
I used to go to the old location under the Calderon, which was
Yeah, that was
freaking
amazing.
Exactly.
I got to see that one year.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Yeah.
And obviously there starting to fall in love with some artists, and got away from EDM and commercial and really much more into progressive and melodic. And then we were actually a duo, JRS. I think I shared the story a couple of times. But then we split, and we used to like DJ in house parties mainly. We had a couple of gigs at bars, but that was pretty much it, nothing serious.
So the name Jars, that was it applied to both of you? What was the origin of
it was
that?
like part of it was from my family name, Jarmak, Jargar, and ES was for Stati, who's my friend Michel.
Okay.
Hi Michel. He has the Page Traffic mix now, so he's like still
Right.
pretty involved in the scene. They're actually in SXM Festival
Oh, okay.
tomorrow filming. So
Amazing.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and then that's it. I mean, I got a couple of chances, a couple of opportunities to DJ. One of them was a very famous DJ in Montreal called Mike Haddad.
Mhm.
He gave me my first shot with Michel, and we DJed at like a small party he used to throw at a place called Luan
Okay.
in Chinatown, actually.
And how did it go?
It went really well, but I was supposed to be doing an opening set. Like, we were supposed to be doing an opening set, but I guess, like, I wasn't a good warm-up DJ. Like, you know, and I feel like a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Like, when you get your first chance, even if it's to warm up from 10 to 12, you want to kill it, you want to make people dance, you have a lot of friends coming, and yeah, I don't think I did a good
Yeah, it's
job
hard.
from a warm-up perspective, but I think it was fun, a very fun night, and thanks, Mike, for giving us this opportunity. It was really cool. And then, we actually had an accident after that made us stop DJing. So I think it was 2016 or something. We were supposed to be DJing at a club. It closed now. It's called Play. It was in the gay village. And the guy who had invited was Sébastien Dion. I really like this guy, by the way. He does a lot for the scene in Montreal. And then we're like the main act from 1:30 to 3. But back then we used to bring our DJ mixer with us. So we arrived 1:30. All our friends are there. We're so freaking excited. We plug it in. I played my first track. I remember very well. It was Warg by Recondite. And doof, doof, and then it all stops. And music didn't work anymore. The cable was not working or something. Something went wrong, and we didn't have a USB, obviously, so we actually didn't perform, and someone else had to kind of replace us.
Disaster.
And that was such a disaster, and it was so embarrassing that we just
stopped.
what the fuck are we doing? I just go back to our like work.
Start over.
9 to 5 work, I guess.
Well, I'm glad you're back, and
Yeah, I'm here.
in a bigger way, I think now too,
Yeah.
producing, and
So yeah,
we're gonna get into that.
exactly. So into so yeah, that was DJing, I guess. Then I stopped, and then when COVID happened, I continued DJing at house parties, but nothing like big. And then when COVID happened, I started producing. And actually, back then I lost someone in my family, and this was for me the trigger to start producing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually lost this person on like March 12th, which was one day before the lockdown. And so so the lockdown happened. I had nothing to do. I was kind of grieving, and
Yeah.
for me, I really felt like I needed to do something. I need to let it out. I wasn't able to go out. I was stuck at home, and that's where I started producing. I bought the Ableton. I started taking courses, and I started producing. And then as soon as clubs started reopening, events restarted happening, I got back into DJing.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of like DJ sets for radios as well during COVID, before the events restarted.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am today.
That's amazing.
That's the story.
That's there. So it was productive because since then, COVID now has. Well, I've forgotten how many years.
3 years,
it's
I
been.
think. Yeah.
Don't like to think about it, but how many tracks have you released since you started? Then, do you know?
A lot. I regret most of them. I released, I think, almost 30 tracks or something.
30 tracks. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
that-
honestly regret like half of them. No regrets though, but like if I could delete some of them from my Spotify account, I would.
Yeah,
But I guess they brought me where I am today.
Yeah.
So
and it's. I think it's better to release and get the tracks out there than kind of stew on them forever and never have anybody else have the chance to hear those.
agreed.
And people will decide if they don't like it, they'll go to your next track, and
That's
your
100%
tracks
it.
that are successful will rise on your
Exactly.
playlist and so forth. So
No, that's it.
I think that's good advice too for people just starting release.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we'll get into this in a bit, but, like,
Yeah.
we should finish projects and get them released
Yeah,
if they meet the minimum requirements for sure.
yeah, I totally get that. So let's move to the next question here. What artists have inspired you in this career of yours that you're making, and why?
Blaster Jacks.
From the beginning.
I'm not kidding. Listen, production wise, it's tough because like I do believe that I don't like putting things in boxes,
Mhm.
and I was always interested in all kind of electronic music. Like I really like banging techno,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not what I produce. But I've been
Yeah.
inspired by a lot of banging techno DJs. I like melodic, I like organic, I like progressive, sometimes like down tempo as well. So I guess like if I want to name a couple of DJs that or producers that really interested me a lot and inspired me, I would start with Stefan Budzen.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing him at Stereo, and
Wow, did you do a live set?
yeah, he did a live set back then.
Amazing.
And I mean, like, Stefan Budzen is Stefan Budzen. You know, like the melodies that he plays and how he can make a track so like you don't get bored of Stefan
Yeah.
Budzen track. You know,
No,
and I think
it's
this is
incredible.
what I really took away from him a lot. Like the melodies, the way he mixes these melodies with his bass line that are really amazing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Stefan Budzen a lot. Warak is one of. I think he's absolutely my favorite artist. To
Yeah,
ever
he's
exist.
amazing.
Both on a personal level, he's a very nice guy. And as a producer, like I think like he started something new when he started doing his music with Hungry Music.
Mhm.
It wasn't something that was very famous back then, this type of music, but he was really able to mix orchestral elements with electronic music, with like
Yeah.
all sort of electronic music. I mean, you listen to Warak. Last time I saw him, I think in Picnic, and in Ingloop Pass this year, he played like a drum and bass track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's quite fluid.
Like he's quite fluent. Like most of his tracks are definitely in the melodic house-ish,
Mhm.
but he sometimes like has tracks with 110 BPM, for example. And I really appreciate this kind of artist. So I like Warak a lot.
Apparently, he was trained in a conservatory
Yeah.
as a class. I guess as a pianist slash I don't know
Exactly.
what, but
So he's really good at that, and he actually has his orchestra now.
Mhm.
So he does these kind of shows in Europe. I've asked him a couple of times when he'll be coming to Canada, and it's always a no. I don't know why. But if any promoter is listening or anything, please let's get
Oracles would be
let's
great.
get Oracle's orchestra to Montreal. We've seen Oracle's play here every year. I want his orchestra here. That would
Yeah,
be
that'd be
sick. Who else? I like AIM Music a lot.
okay.
I liked AIM Music since 2017. I think he was one of my first influences actually in production. I've never seen him perform as a DJ, but as a producer, he's really like I really love the melodies of AIM Music and the groove of his tracks.
Mhm.
It's like it's not only banging, but there's always a groove, so the tracks are like easy to listen to and flow into.
Yeah.
But also the melodies that he adds on top are very like emotional and rich, and I really like in music for this. Sébastien Léger, the same, probably one of the best melodies. I think his tracks have one of the best melodies I've ever listened to in my life. Soul Button as well, very emotional, romantic, ethereal techno that I love a lot. And I would maybe add Mesuplex. I know it's a
Okay.
classic, but
Yeah,
Mesuplex,
yeah.
like banging techno, is so
Yeah.
strong. Like yeah. I think Solitary Days by Mesuplex is one of my favorite tracks, and I sometimes play it in my sets, and it's crazy how this track is simple, but how people just react to it like crazy, just because it has so much emotion, but yet so much energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think these are pretty much my main artist influences.
That influenced your production
My production.
and your DJing sets?
No, not DJing. DJing, probably. I mean, some of them I have
Yeah.
never seen them play, but
Well, their tracks. Would you play their tracks? You
yeah, I
talked
would play
about
their
Master
tracks.
Flights.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like I play a lot of it in music. I play a lot of Sébastien Léger. I play Mesuplex from time to time when it really fits the mood. Stefan Budzin too, but I haven't been producing that much recently.
Yeah.
Warac, if it fits. His
Yeah.
special are pretty, his
Yeah.
tracks are pretty special. And Soul Button, I do DJ some stereo or Soul Button tracks
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, those are some great artists for people to discover if they haven't.
Oh yeah,
There's
really
a
good
ton there
artists.
that are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, we have a track to listen to, but before we listen to this track, I'd like you to describe your music.
It's a tough question. How do I describe my music? I think first thing is my music tends to be emotional because I I started producing to kind of share emotions for me, like it was a breathing mechanism, I guess. So emotions in music is very important. So I would consider that my music is emotional. I like orchestral element a lot, so I do think that my music is also orchestral in a lot of different kinds. Like there's always a lot of melodies happening, but I also love integrating like classical music instruments in there, and this I like that a lot. Ethereal, I like the darkness and kind of the ethereal vibes in my music, and also driving. I like when the music is not very linear. I guess it's that there's a drive, and then there's always something happening and something evolving.
Yeah.
So for me, like, and I think I don't know if we've talked about this before, but like for me, my favorite parts in my releases is not actually the build up and the drop. It's like the third drop, or what I sometimes call the second climax, which is like I guess 16 bars usually after the drop.
Yeah.
Which is like a little drop, but this is where I really like let the show
Everything
go.
in.
I bring everything in together.
Yeah.
I kind of like bring the cutoff very high, and I just enjoy all the melodies playing together.
That's your climax of your track,
Exactly.
ultimately.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And so, yeah,
I think it's super effective. And also having that 16 measure break before that moment and causes us to build anticipation
Exactly.
for something. So you get a payoff of the drop, and then you get a second payoff on that
100%.
climax.
And people don't get bored, right? Like it's always evolving. There's always something happening, and it's very often people want to rehear some of these elements that they heard before. So,
And this is a very progressive,
Yes.
melodic style, right? We're building towards something.
I guess
We're going to get something.
We
along
won't
the
get
way.
into the debate between
Right.
progressive and melodic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely progressive. I think it's what defines progressive, right? Like melodies are progressing always.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, we could debate genres all day, but all right. So let's give your track a listen. So what is this track?
We're listening to Rage,
Okay.
which is a track that was released yesterday.
Amazing.
Which I assume was March 5th.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's right.
I don't know when
March
this is going
5th.
to be shared, but it's going to
Yeah,
be March
soon.
5th. It's yeah, I got released on a Berlin-based label called Details.
Okay.
It's not available on Beatport yet. It's going to be available on Beatport next week.
Great.
But I really enjoyed doing this track a lot, and I think it kind of shows off my kind of my style. It kind of expresses my. No, it doesn't express. It kind of like illustrate how I like doing music.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a good example of my style. I guess.
So what should the listener kind of look out for here?
Orchestral elements, surprises, and the last drop that we were talking about. Right
Okay.
before.
After the
main
moment,
drum.
so you have a break. Everything comes back in the drums. We have our kick, and then 8 to 16 measures later, we're gonna have
Things are
all of the
rebuilding,
elements
exactly.
coalescing.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, I'm excited. So here we go. This is Jara's Rage.
Okay, I guess we don't need to listen to the kick outro.
All right, so that was Jars's Rage,
Yeah,
killer track.
it's raging. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk about this track. Okay, so
What did you think, Tom?
I thought it was
Let me
fantastic.
interview you for a second.
Yeah, let's turn it around. Fantastic. No, honestly, that's one of the best tracks I heard from you. And I think there's a couple elements. The violin in the background that's doing an arpeggio, and we were talking during the break, which you couldn't hear. That you didn't use an arp. You actually wrote that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, for all those producers that are stuck in our plan, maybe write some in sometimes.
Exactly. And like I think I was telling you this. Sometimes I find it difficult with the measures of an arp to write it
Yeah,
because it's like small measures.
yeah.
Sometimes I just do like a melody, like I don't know, 4 bars or 8 bars melody, and then in Ableton you can divide this by half. So like it becomes smaller. It becomes like 4 measures, or then to become 2 measures. And this
Yeah.
is how I actually built this. Like it was the melody was not like 1 measure arp. It was bigger, and then I kept splitting it, and it got me where I wanted to.
Okay, so shortening and zooming in on smaller parts of it,
Exactly.
editing those,
Yeah.
and then over time. So, are you repeating these small elements?
I am repeating these elements, but I'm also transposing them sometimes, and sometimes I'm adding like I think I'm transposing one of the notes of the arp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I
Right,
usually
to add
do.
extra
I usually have
interest.
my arp baseline kind of going on, and then to add energy, I would transpose one of the notes of the arp.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, right before the drop here, actually, when the breakdown happened, I transposed the whole arp
Yeah,
one pitch up, and I transposed
created a
it
lot
up.
of tension.
Exactly,
And
created a lot of tension.
your baseline. Do you have toms in there? And
Oof, my baseline. I think it was a rolling a bass that I used Diva for.
are you on 16ths or are you on something dotted? I can't remember.
I think it was on 16th. Yeah.
It was powerful. You had a
Yeah.
big sub bass.
Yeah, I was like I'm using Diva a lot for the basses,
Yeah.
but also I'm using for sub bass. I'm not using Diva actually. I'm using, I always forget the name of this synthesizer by Arturia, but it's called R2600, I think, or
Oh
something.
yeah. Interesting. Why are you using that for sub bass?
I don't know. I just like I was actually playing around with all the instruments because I always use Diva. It's like my
Yeah,
go-to.
yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I just need to try something else. And
Yeah.
then I went to I had bought the Arturia bundle,
Yeah.
and I went
Great
through
bundle.
yeah, exactly. I went through R2600, and I was looking around with the sub basses and stuff, and I found like a preset within the R2600 that was really good for sub bass, and I
Interesting.
really like it. Really brings a lot of
So it has some upper
energy.
harmonics. You have your
Exactly.
fundamental and then
That's
a little
exactly it. Yeah.
yeah, so you can blend better with your mid bass.
But I'm always careful with the kind of conflict between my sub bass and my rolling bass, my groovy bass, I guess.
Yeah.
And
That's one of the hardest things to really figure out for new producers, but you clearly figured it out for this track. So,
oh man, funny thing, like I still have one of the first tracks that I did when I started producing, actually before COVID, like when I first bought Ableton, and it just like the bass line sounds so bad, man.
Yeah.
And I remember back then I used to listen to it and be like, what's wrong in that track? Like the melody is good, it's not good, but the melody is there, like it's okay, it's the melody. The drums were not bad. Why does it not sound well?
Yeah.
And I really, with more experience, I learned that it's all about the bass line for a track to sound professional, to sound good, to sound deep, to sound full, right? To not sound thin. And since then, I've been really investing like a lot of time and resources and like learning and about the bass line, taking courses and like tutorials on the bass line specifically and desktop.
Yeah, it's by far the hardest region. So yeah, for new producers out there, you're gonna be spending a lot of your time in bassland.
Like really the whole I call it CAS, which would be like kick and bass. Yeah, just like making sure these elements are fitting well together. There's no conflict there, especially if you have a tom on top.
Yeah.
You have the sub, you have the groovy bass, and you have the kick. You want them to be
solid,
merging well together. Yeah.
Well, we could spend several hours talking about kicks and bass. I'm sure. But we don't have that, so let's.
Let me talk about kicks, man.
I would like to talk about kicks and bass. Trust me. All right, so let's move on here. So, we got into this a little bit.
I just want to
Actually.
mention one thing, actually.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Camilo, Rivera Production, for the mix down of the track.
Oh, nice.
He helped me a lot with the mix, and
With Hickey
especially
and Halo?
yeah, Hickey and Calo.
Halo, yeah.
Rivera Production is Camilo's studio, and he really, like, I was actually telling you, like, he's really good with drums, so the drums of
Yeah.
the track sound very crisp.
Yeah, the hi-hats
And,
are really nice
exactly,
too.
yeah. So he helped a lot. Thanks, Camilo.
Yeah, it takes a village to
Takes
make
a
a track. No, but really. So we got into this a little bit, but what's
Yeah.
your typical compositional process? Like roughly beginning, middle, end?
Yeah, so I usually, so it evolved, right? Like when I started, I used to focus a lot on melodies because for me it was again about emotion. It's still about emotion, but for me, like, the emotion is the melody, right? Of the track. The
Yeah.
melody of the track is the emotion of the track. And then what I usually used to do before is start with the melodies, layer on top the bass line, and then the drums. I would do that at the end.
Oh, you had the drums at the end.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
That's how I used to work, actually. Except the clap. I would always have the clap for the groove.
Yeah.
But then this is when I started. I don't think it was the right thing to do, to be honest.
Oh,
Now that I
okay.
reflect, right? But
Yeah.
now I'm really more focused on the bass line. So now what I do is I build like a melody. I have actually built a lot of like projects of melodies, and I save the MIDI like on my laptop, and I don't necessarily do a track. For me, like, I kind of separated the process of building a melody and building a track, the bass line and the drums. So I build the melodies, but I also, what I'm focused on when I'm really starting a new project is the bass line, the groove, and the drums. For me, this is the first thing. They don't need to be perfect. I just need a bass line. Like,
So you sort of flipped
started.
your process from when you originally
Exactly.
started.
Yeah, because, like, honestly, and it's when I restarted DJing, and I think it's something really interesting because when I started producing during COVID, I didn't get the chance to test my tracks when I was DJing.
Yeah.
Right, and I wasn't going to clubs, so I didn't even have like any benchmark, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, but the more I went to clubs, the more I was like, what's really important in a club to make people move and groove is the bass and the groove of the track.
Yeah.
And the melody is what you add on top to make them not just move and groove, but like have shivers and want to cry and just want to go hug everyone around them.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
and so
go
for me, I
crazy.
wanted
you want the emotions. Some people might want to just explode with it.
yeah, whatever what kind of emotions, like whatever what kind of emotion. Everyone can express their emotions the way they want to.
Yeah.
And so this is why recently I've been really like, and this was really like in 2023 thing. I'm really like starting my bass line with a tom. I didn't use toms a lot before, but I found they add a lot to bass line. So bass line, tom, groove with some like hats and the clap.
Yeah.
And then I would work on the melody that would fit on top.
Okay.
I use a lot of arps.
Yeah.
I like arps.
Keep the energy going.
Exactly. I like the driving energy of an ARP. That being said, I do appreciate the kind of music when there is no ARP. I think it's fine.
For those of you that are totally new, an ARP is an arpeggiator, right? So it's taking a
Exactly.
chord and running it through
Exactly.
a pattern. This arpeggiator is actually, this idea is something that Bach did.
Really?
In a different way. Of course, they didn't have arpeggiators where you press a button, but they would take chord progressions and then run these through patterns to activate them and add energy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The more you learn.
Yeah. So it's a couple of 100 years long practice.
Yeah, like, I love ARPs. I just find they drive energy, right? Whether you're using an arpeggiator plugin in Ableton or you're writing like the melodies
Custom
yourself.
ARPs, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, where were we? Yeah, that's it. So I use ARPs a lot. I really focus on the bass line and the groove recently, and I use the melody on top to kind of bring it home and make it an emotional track, take it from a groovy track to an emotional track.
Yeah. I think this last one was really effective. We have another track coming up here. It's unreleased here. But before we get there, we talked about your melodic process, and then we talked a little bit too about this question, but I'll give you just the question in full. What do you like about DJing and producing? What is your favorite thing about these two things?
Yeah. Let's start by producing. I started producing for myself, right? Like during COVID.
Yeah.
I honestly I never thought that 3 years later I would have how many, like 30 tracks released. That was really not like, I really started producing for myself. That was my purpose. And so first I like producing music because it's my way to express feelings. But then what I really like about it now is creating stories for people and making people express their feelings through music. And when I'm having a shitty day, I will listen to music. When I'm having a good day, I listen to music. When I'm breathing, I listen to music. When I'm focusing at work and need motivation, I listen to music. And so for me, music is really this mechanism that can flip someone's mood, or help someone with their mood, or help someone with anything.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is what I really like about producing. I like to think that with every listen that anyone would give to my track or something, I'm helping them, I guess, with their day, with their life, with whatever. Like for me, it's really this human thing about producing that I enjoy a lot. And so yeah, creating stories.
Yeah, I mean, producing in music is a human thing, right? Where
Yeah.
if you don't have another human to listen, careful. But yeah, I was gonna actually go back to something you said about someone creating a story when they listen to your track, and that's in part. I mean, it can happen with music that has lyrics, but a lot of the stuff we're gonna listen to for you does not have lyrics.
Didn't we talk about this like last week or something?
Yeah, exactly.
You're using it. Good. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like I mainly do music with no vocals, and I fell in love with music that don't have vocals, because I feel like pop music or music that has vocals in general, you're stuck with the lyrics. Like this is a song that is talking about, I don't know, love, or talking about sad things, or talking about drugs, or talking.
You sort of have to decide if
you
it's
have to be
applicable
like,
to you.
is there? And remember when I was young, I'd be like, listen to love music. And I'm like, but I don't have a girlfriend. Why am I singing like Backstreet Boys or whatever? Like, I don't have a girlfriend. So for me, this is the electronic music. The beauty about electronic music is you write your own story. All what I'm doing as a producer or as a DJ is setting the mood for you, with like a theme being dark, sad, happy, love, romantic, sexy. But you're the one who chooses your story, and this is what I really, really enjoyed about producing music, but also dancing to music myself.
Yeah.
This is really, for me, it's a meditation process as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you like that, because I feel like when I go to the playlist on Apple or Spotify, we're getting more and more vocals.
Yeah.
And I think some of the vocals are really interesting, and in some in house music, using vocals as samples, like for rhythmic effects and so forth, also very interesting.
Yeah.
But I hope that the electronic music world doesn't become completely saturated with lyrics. I don't think it ever will. It's a huge world now. It's underground.
It's happening
there's
a lot. Like
it is though.
like
a
with the
lot
whole
of the
Afterlife, like, and Arbat, and like, I mean, amazing producers, amazing DJs. Like music's freaking amazing, but there was always vocals, and it's kind of it's good, I guess. But like it's
they're kind of writing on the semantic meaning of the words, like consciousness, and then you're supposed to think about consciousness and like become elevated.
That's
right?
true.
So they're relying upon the word. I feel like they should maybe rely a little more on the music.
I 100% agree with you, but I guess consciousness does have an impact on people.
Yeah,
right?
oh, the track itself is
made
great.
a lot
It's
of noise,
great,
and it's such a good song, and I get it, right? Like I get it, and
well, anyone's doing a lot.
I would be lying if I didn't try putting lyrics. I have tracks with lyrics. I actually collaborated with a couple of vocalists in Montreal, but like I do think that the beauty of electronic music is not having very interpretive lyrics. I guess if you want to have like generic words, maybe that makes sense, but like shouldn't be very like clear or specific. It should be open-ended, I guess.
Well, this is a tradition that goes back again several hundred years with orchestral work, Beethoven, Mozart before them, where although it started with vocal music in the church, and then orchestral music really took over, and so electronic music is in some sense an extension of that.
Historical capsule by composer.
No problem. That's what I studied.
DJing though.
Yeah.
I love the beauty of taking people into, like, I guess it fits with what I was saying earlier, like taking people into a voyage as well, right? When I'm DJing, I like being in control of how someone's night can go, right? Like I feel like people go, they want to dance, they want to kind of let loose, let off some steam, and I love being a tool to help them with that as well when I'm DJing. So I love the control over the dance floor. I really enjoy that a lot, and also like helping people discover new music as well. So I guess it does fit with why I like producing. This is why I like electronic music in general. So
that makes a lot of sense actually. Okay, now let's get to your track. I want to hear some of your music, and then we'll have some final questions. Now, what is this next track that we're gonna hear?
This is a track called Void Echoes.
Okay.
That I started. When did I start this track? A week and a half ago. actually.
Wow. See, you're a machine. That's amazing.
Yeah, I started this back a week and a half ago. I don't remember the inspiration, but yeah, let's listen to it.
Okay. We're gonna start at the beginning. This is unreleased, so it's not
Unreleased.
mastered, right?
That's not
And it's a mix. Would you call this a work in progress or a
I think
finished
it's a draft. It's the first draft.
Okay. All right. This is gonna be exciting. Here we go. This is Jara's Void Echoes. All right, so that
Voila.
was Jar's Void Echoes,
Yeah.
and we have a few things to talk about on this track here. So 2 minutes in, we have a break, right? And
Yeah.
first thing, we have a break that has a kick. So this is something new that you're doing. Some of your other tracks have very long breakdowns with no kick, huge builds. I think it's kind of perplexing, right? It's super fun to listen to when you're walking around outside and you have these humongous breaks.
Yeah.
But on the dance floor, that's where you see people walk off the floor.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. Like when I DJ a lot, every time I DJ, I notice that every time that I play my track, whenever you have like a sudden break, I guess there's an art to make a break not sudden. Maybe I don't have this art, but
Well, I think
whenever
you're
there's
doing
like a
good.
big break, it's like you lose some of the energy. Like although
Yeah.
it's where people tend to love the tracks the most because it's
Yeah.
where you have all the melodies. But like these first couple of seconds, it's always like every time I DJ, it's like an awkward silence. You know, it's like, what's happening now?
Right.
Wait for it, please give me
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
So what I recently started doing a lot is building to the break, kind of making like the break happen organically, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I always keep my kick. I put a filter on my kick. I don't always do it, but like whenever I feel like my break is too sudden, that's what I do. I keep my kick. I put a low pass and a high pass filter on it. Actually, I just keep the mid. I keep a couple of like movie hats and stuff just to keep the groove going.
Yeah.
And then I start introducing my elements of the break, so the melody, the chord progression, and in this case as well, and the stab.
Yeah.
And then I guess 8 bars before the drop, this is where I got everything, and I let us
So
have
it's
our
enough.
eight.
It's enough to yeah.
It's enough time to keep the break.
This is a really good point too. I think. I mean, for people like myself who are producing but not DJing yet, that you learn things from performing live and having people actually dancing. That being said, I think that it depends on where you are in the night, right? And if
Yep.
it's and what you're trying to do with the dance floor. Because if you have the dance floor, then your break could be 3 minutes long.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like Guy J, he's like very famous in Montreal for their his long tracks and sets in stereo. He have very long tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows where he's playing. Like when
Yeah.
he's starting the night, he has less. Sorry, I said very long tracks, very long breaks. My bad.
Okay. Well, it's probably a long track.
But
It's a
long tracks
break.
too, actually. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
So, but when he starts there, he probably has less breaks, and then the more the night advances, you're in an after-hour environment, you can have more breaks. People want breaks.
Yeah.
That's fine, right? But like, especially if you're warming up or you're more like in a club environment, not really an after-hour environment, or very emotional. If you didn't bring the people to an emotional kind of state of mind,
Yeah.
where they're craving breaks, they're craving the melodies, they're craving the emotions, you should avoid sudden breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I really don't like about the melodic techno productions today. It's really difficult for me when I'm digging for other artists' music to find songs or tracks that don't have sudden long breaks. It's really difficult. It's been really, really, really
Yeah.
difficult. And I'm actually going back to my old tracks that I like a lot and have a sudden break, and I'm just adding a kick.
Yeah.
And I'm calling
Keep
them
the
breakless.
momentum.
Breakless version. I'm
Oh,
playing
wow.
them. Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
So edits.
Yeah, exactly. Breakless edit. So, because it's really difficult to find tracks.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring that up. The second thing I wanted to bring up is that we had our breakdown, which was shorter. Then we had our drop, right, which the kick returns. We have a lot of our elements, but we didn't have all of them, and we were missing
not.
actually the newest element that came in the break, which was this melody that you played in. You told me.
I did.
On the piano.
Taking piano courses.
That's fantastic.
With Dr. Tom Hosden. I played this. It was actually one of the first times that I tried to come up with the melody using a keyboard.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy with the results.
I'm hypothesizing, it could be totally wrong, but I think going into 2023 now and 2024, we're going to see more live human input into stuff. Fred again is super popular right now for doing live drumming. There and we discovered this, you know, when you're programming drums and so forth, having some variation and mistiming, so it's less computeristic. Everybody
100%.
went from digital to analog.
That's true.
Diva, you love Diva, you like the imperfections, so this makes a lot of sense. I think.
100%.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. We have two final questions. What are your favorite underground artists in Montreal? You can talk about producers
The
and
list is
DJs.
long. Yeah, I'll probably break it down to producers and DJs. Producers, I think. Let me think. I think Adam Husa. I'll start with Adam Husa. I don't. He's still local. He's from Montreal, although he's in Egypt now, as part of Husa and Ziyada. I like really admire what this guy did. First, the Montreal scene back in the days, but also with his music, like really doing a career in music, and he's doing amazing tracks with Hussein Ziada, who's his wife now. I don't know.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
that's great.
I think he's doing a great job. I like Skyrim a lot. I don't think he's very active in DJing in Montreal. I think his last gig was at Stereo like a year ago or something. But production-wise, I think he does a great job. Rebel of Sleep, this guy is making things happen. Like
new COVID product. We might say.
exactly, COVID product as well, and new to Montreal. Part of Polytechnique as well in Polyrad. Six
powerhouse.
Raj is doing very strong things as well. He came from Toronto not long ago. Joseph Crime, signing with
Purified.
exactly. Tom Potton, I think like he shares a couple of tracks with me and he has some of them on SoundCloud. Just beautiful what he does, although it doesn't line up with what I usually DJ, but just like the musical composition is pretty interesting. Simon Sizer, how did I forget about Simon Sizer? One of my favorite producers, and I actually didn't know that he was from Montreal till like a year ago. Someone was like, "Hey, do you know Simon Sizer from Say Okay is in Montreal?" And I reached out to him, and since then we've been like good friends. Simon is really good. Half and Fold from Say Okay are really good as well from Montreal. Hickey and Caro, definitely the kings of progressive house in Montreal. I think they're really good, and I love how they like manage their shop. Like how I love how productive they are, and I love how they run their label. And I think both Stella and Camille are very nice people as well. And the last group that I would add as part of the production list here is Ossa Project. Ossa. It's I think it's Firas Nasri and Nadim Sued, both of them musicians for years, and now they decided to come together and start producing music and do a live set. Actually, they do a lot of live sets. Very talented people. Highly recommend you guys check them out. I think their recent EP came out not long ago. Super interesting music.
Great.
That's my very long list of Montreal producers. But I mean, we do have a lot of good Montreal producers.
Many of them are on MTL Electronic Music if you're looking to discover them, and hopefully the rest of them will be on there soon.
Yes. DJing, Mistress Barbara.
Yeah, a legend.
A legend. Although like it's not the kind of music that I produce or DJ, but I've really enjoyed her sets in Picnic Electronique, and like small between brackets, like the best set that I ever listened to in Picnic Electronique was not Mistress Barbara, but it was Len Faki, who's I think he's a German DJ who plays like banging techno. And that was like my favorite picnic ever.
Wow.
Although it's not the type of music that I produce or DJ, but I really love the energy there. Lanfaki was amazing. Other DJs in Montreal, I love Crescenzo a lot. I love Jumana, although she's not DJing anymore. She stopped, she took a break, but I remember listening to her a couple of times. She was really good.
Hopefully she comes back then.
Hopefully she comes back. I know she had projects for producing, so
that's
maybe
exciting.
I'll move her to my production list soon. Tommy J, love this guy. Genuinely love his DJ set. I really love his DJ set. I think he's really talented when it comes to DJing and production. Mike Haddad is amazing. Vibrant is pretty good. He's really good as well. Very groovy, very tribal, very energetic. And Mendez, Amanda. I know she's getting into production now, and I heard a couple of unreleased tracks, and she's pretty good.
Great.
Although it's also not the style of music that I usually listen to or DJ or produce it.
Yeah.
But I saw her in Picnic, I think 5 years ago, before I even started producing. I really fell in love with her style and her energy. Like some of these DJs who have a beautiful energy on the behind the decks. So I'm definitely forgetting people, but like these are the names that I can come up with right now.
Yeah.
We're really lucky to have a very talented local, so we should always support our locals.
Absolutely.
And it's up there.
Okay, I know that there's more, and that's something amazing about Montreal. We have some incredible artists, and it's also great that we have so many artists in different genres. And you're a progressive. We'll just call you a progressive producer in the progressive sense. Let's not get into it. But you've learned a lot from techno and tech house. Like there's in the techno scene is huge in Montreal. There's a lot to learn from all these subgenres.
Agreed. Really, we're lucky.
Yeah. And then, okay, so let's close it out with this last question. Do you have any advice for someone looking to get into production, DJing, or even live electronic music?
Bum, bum, bum,
And let's make this question two parts. So the first part is for someone looking
I
to
thought we were
make.
timing out.
I know, but I really want to hear your opinion on this. Someone trying to get into the scene as an artist, and then someone who is not familiar with the electronic scene. Where would you send them first? Let's start with the first one. Do you have any recommendations for someone who's looking to get into this as an artist?
Into production or into the Montreal scene?
I
Are
would
we
say
splitting this into three parts?
let's just say into production.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about
and DJing, production and
Yeah.
DJing.
Production wise, I really think that producing is, we're lucky enough with technology. It's not rocket science. Like, I mean, you just need to have basics of understanding music theory, having the right tools, and just start producing. Like, there's nothing, literally nothing stopping us nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
everything is available online. There are a bunch of tutorials online that can help you a lot. I started with tutorials 100%. And I
Yeah.
took a couple of courses on music theory and on music production in Ableton. There's nothing stopping you from producing. So I would say
Yeah.
just put in the effort. You know, it's a lot of time. It is a lot of time.
Yeah.
But like, if you really want to do it, you gotta dedicate time and you gotta be very consistent about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's Hiki and Kalu who said it last year on When We Dip. There was like an interview or something. I remember they talked about consistency.
Yeah.
I think being consistent, whether it's in releasing or just putting the hours of not making production a one-time thing, something that you do like once a month. Even if you put like 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a weekend, 1 hour a weekend, just be consistent with the way you approach music and you will get places.
That's amazing advice.
A lot of stuff available online. Nothing, literally, that's what I
Yeah.
said. Like, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Nothing is stopping us from getting where we want to be as producers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And try to finish projects. I know there's like the
Great
writer's
advice.
block, but like, try to finish project. As I said earlier, I wish I can remove 50% of the tracks that I have on Spotify, but I don't regret doing them. I don't regret finishing them.
Mhm.
I think it's what it got me where I am today with doing more music that I like and I actually want to keep on Spotify. You need to finish project, you need to see them through, you need to test them out, you need to test them in your car. Very important advice, by the way.
Yeah. Always the worst.
Or oh my god, horrible. Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
That's
yeah,
from a production perspective.
Nike's advice continues to be sage.
Exactly.
That's yeah, absolutely. Okay, and now for someone who wants to discover some underground music in Montreal, what do you recommend for them?
Discovering underground music in Montreal. I would say look at local DJs and producers. There are a couple of Spotify and Apple.
Where are you
Music
gonna find
playlists.
these DJs and local producers?
MTL
That's right.
There's even a forum now.
There is a forum coming. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
But yeah, just go to a club and just go with no expectations, you know.
Mhm.
And I know we didn't talk about this earlier, and we thought about talking about it. But like, please, I hear a lot from people. It's like, oh, I don't do drugs. I don't want to go rave.
Yeah.
Please, just give it a chance. Give it a shot. Like, don't close the door right off just
Not
'cause
the
you don't wanna
drugs,
do
but
drugs.
the event.
Exactly. Yeah. Not do whatever you want, but
You
like,
can-
don't
yeah,
give the
do
event
drugs
a
or not,
shot.
whatever, it's your
Exactly. Just give it a shot. You know, like give it a shot. Go enjoy the music. Close your eyes. Don't have expectations and try to fly with the DJ and try to listen to what the DJ is trying, the kind of energy that he's trying to transmit to you.
Yeah.
That's really why I would recommend. Stereo is a great place to do it.
Mhm.
Salon d'Armée, always good music.
Yeah.
Great place to do it as well. There are many other clubs, but I really think it's about going to a night with no expectation and just trying to see where it takes you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, if you go to a spot and you don't like the music, there are so many subgenres that you
Yeah.
might like. So we have some videos on MTL Electronic Music. You can check those out and explore some of the different artists and click on all the different genre tags. I think there's like 50 different genre tags right now. So
I'm gonna
it's
get into
pretty.
the debate. Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of debate, and we're gonna someday get into that. But Jairus, thanks for coming by. Had a great interview and had a great time chatting with you. I think you have some excellent points for producers, DJs, and just people looking to get into the scene. So thanks for coming over.
Thank you for having me, and thanks everyone. Thanks, man.
Cheers.